All right, welcome into another episode of the Fantasy 4-Pack. We're bringing you another Best Ball Sunday here. Back at it on Underdog. Our lobby is waiting for 3 people to fill up right now, so we're going to run through the intro. We're waiting for that to fill. I want to say, before we get to anything else, I'm pretty glad with the opt-out date. It's come and gone, and for the most part, no big fantasy players opted out. I was worried that we were going to get at least 1 or 2 big names, but fortunately, it seems like we're going to be at least allowed to, at least for now, have all of our stars going into the season. We obviously don't know who's going to get COVID, if anyone, but there's at least nothing you got to watch out for as far as big names not actually being available on that draft board. That's, I think, the biggest news for me. I mean, some other just good news coming out of camps. Brandon Cook's just saying that he doesn't have any issues with his concussion history. The doctors are saying he's good to go. If anyone missed it, I think the other biggest news, obviously, Darius Geis is no longer a member of the Washington football team due to domestic violence. He was cut very quickly. My only word on that is just obviously, I love Antonio Gibson. The fantasy community loves Antonio Gibson, but temper your expectations for him. Old Man AP and Peyton Barber are still part of that system.
Yeah, they can easily spoil that hype train real fast. So that's why I think on this one I'm just going to lean for taking AP, who already, even with those old legs, on Washington got a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, and we are seeing Gibson jump up boards, so he's very quickly going to be not a value and actually could end up being a bad pick for teams just because of how congested that backfield is. There's no other real big fantasy news that I saw aside from obviously Geis and the opt-out date passing.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you guys want to bring to the table?
No, I mean, it looks like we're about to roll into this draft. 40 seconds. What are we looking at for positions? Ooh.
I am drafting out of the 2 slot. You're drafting out of the 3. And
very
Frankie
shockingly,
out of the 11.
Very shockingly, another bottom half pick.
You're never drafting from there. I don't know what you're talking about. No, that is par for the course for Frankie. All right. Well, like I said, we are starting in 13 seconds here. I'm going to spoil my pick. I'm taking Saquon Barkley. For anyone who's surprised by that.
Yeah, I don't...
What if the number 1 player takes Saquon Barkley?
Well, then I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, so that's why I'm hoping that the number 1 guy here just goes bog standard and takes CMC. That way you take Saquon and I get Zeke, because I'm very happy with taking Zeke there at 3.
Yeah. And...
Or if you take Zeke, and for some reason, if you're trying to swerve and you take Zeke and
Zeke
Saquon's
to you.
in there, yeah. Well, look at that. In no time flat, and like I said, this is a good example when we talked about tips being ready for your pick. Those first, you might say, oh, I've got so much time, but picks can fly off the board when people know what they're going for right off the bat. So I'm just going to keep this rolling and take Zeke and not even look back.
Yeah, so one of the things I do like is that Underdog does update their ADP fairly often. Right now it's every Friday. We've seen Clyde Edwards-Helaire since that news came out about Damian Williams go from 21 to 12. So his ADP is flying up board. So I think it's officially, you can officially state that the time to get him cheap has passed, because not only is he already being drafted inside the top 12, but his ADP is now a top 12 ADP.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah, and it's similar to other drafts. First 5 picks have been running backs. CMC, Barkley, Elliott, Kamara, Cook, Cactus Jake took CEH at 6. All right, keep pumping that ADP.
6?
I mean, that's where he's going roughly.
Jesus.
His most. I mean, I personally have him at 7 in my rankings. He's the first running back outside the top 6 for me.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm sitting at 6 in our redraft league, and it's definitely a very interesting spot because I know what's going to be gone. The only thing that's nebulous is like maybe Kamara falls, maybe Cook falls, but
Sure.
I'm looking at a lot of guys with a lot of maybes that I'm interested in, but I'm not settled on a pick like I would be if I was up in the 2, 3, 4 range.
Well, and I think the appeal for him too is that he has insane upside on a really good offense. So it's like you just aren't getting that upside with it. Like he easily has more upside than a Derrick Henry.
Yeah, because we've seen time and time again, if you want to be a top back, being on a top offense is half the battle.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's only Saquon in the recent years that's even been able to make it into the top 3 on a non-top half offense.
Sure.
And even still, the Giants weren't that bad. Like, they were just on the other side of half.
Another one who's been sneaking up boards and actually went right before Frankie's pick, Miles Sanders. I know some news came out of Eagles camp that they don't want to limit him to a 20-touch-a-game workload, which you like to hear, even if it is just coach speak, you like to hear that from the coaches, that they believe that he has the capacity to be a 20-plus touch-a-game guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a guy I'm sad is climbing up the boards. He's a guy that
you were hoping to get him in the second round.
I was hoping I could maybe make a wraparound or make a trade up or something like that to seal him in, but he feels like a guy that I either have to reach on and just believe that he can be a top back, or I have to just pray that people are sleeping on him in our league.
Sure. I do like the pair that Frankie got, Kenyon Drake and Nick Chubb. I feel like if you're drafting at the turn, that's one of the best pairs you can get.
Yeah, to be fair, not surprised that you think that's you're like 1 and 2 love darlings.
Not to toot my own horn here, but I love when the backs that I love go where I love them going.
This just in, Ian likes Nick Chubb.
Yeah, like I said, not shocked about that one, but they're not bad picks. Having a nice duo right there.
Yeah.
As we come back, more wide receivers and tight ends going off the board that I'm surprised, and then a quarterback. So
I never understand why Kelsey goes in the middle of the second. Like to me, that's just like I can wrap my head around taking Kelsey in the third, but taking Kelsey in the middle of the second when Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin, when they're all still on the board, that just does not. It does not make sense to me why you'd want to risk taking him there.
Right there.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Lamar Jackson, come on, people.
Yeah.
Be smarter. But I will never understand the reasoning behind taking a quarterback or a tight end in the second round. You'll never sell me on that.
Yeah, this is a tough pick for me. I was really hoping for Eckler, who's like kind of that last running back I'm comfortable taking in the second round, especially to pair with him.
Sure.
So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take a wide receiver here. I'm going to go for Godwin over Hopkins.
You're killing me.
Just because if I'm going to be down on the Eagles, I have to be consistent with it. And I think Godwin's he has just such a good situation with a quarterback that loves to use that slot guy.
I'm also going to pass up Hopkins because I've been very vocal about being down on him this season. I don't like where he's going. I don't think he's worth the second round value. I'd much rather take a guy with in that Detroit system, Galladay, who I think has a much higher ceiling.
Yep. So I basically already know your next pick unless he doesn't.
And he doesn't make it to me. Yeah, I'm taking Gurley at 3-2 if he makes it to me.
That's why I was bummed because I was like, Eckler's not here. I'm not going to reach on Gurley in the second here. I'd rather take a more known commodity.
Roto Rooster here, who just took Mahomes at 212.
So he's got CMC and Mahomes, so he's basically just taking the top of every position, which
it can work.
It can work.
He's probably not going to have a lot of weeks where Mahomes isn't in that quarterback spot for him.
So there's definitely value to it. Depending, I feel like he has to reach for Gurley. Like Gurley's just a no-brainer pick, but then he goes Hopkins. So now he's got
filling out his positions.
It's filling out his positions, but I don't think it's the smartest play. So
I am going to go ahead and lock up Todd Gurley. So especially not, and we've talked about this before, where if you're picking at a turn, you can't really draft based on ADP. You have to draft on need. Because I'm drafting at 3-2, and even if I don't necessarily believe in Gurley, which I do, but if I didn't, you have to either take him or a guy you believe in at the turn anyway, because I'm not picking until the back of the fourth, and there's a lot of people that can go off the board between top of the third and back of the fourth. I mean, it's risky to play the ADP game from any position. It's extra risky to play it if you're drafting from either turn.
Well, yeah, that's why I mean, aside from them being a really good duo, Drake and Chubb, that's why I picked them because
you're not going to have anyone near that quality.
I've been vocalizing I want to go 2 top running backs in my first 3 rounds through most drafts, and I know if I waited on someone the end of the 3rd round, no one's going to be there for me.
Yeah.
I as far as going running back, I like drafting from the back end of the draft more than the front end to do that. Because while you don't get as high end a guy as you do if you're drafting in the top 5, there's no Barkleys or Zekes available at 11, but I feel like you get more consistent talent across your 3 running back spots if you're drafting from 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, it's more just making decisions between guys who have similar outcomes, and you just got to pick between the guy you think is the shiniest.
Yeah, pick the one that has the most upside.
Which is a good example when we're talking about there, where like Gurley, you might not want to see him as that spot, but you're not getting him if you don't take him there.
Right.
That's exactly how I went with James Conner, who I think is a lot more risky than Gurley. But like I said, if I'm believing in that, once again, if I'm believing in Pittsburgh making a rebound, and if I think that Conner can get back to what he was that year when he took over for Le'Veon Bell, when he held out, I got to take him here mainly because he's a 1 ADP. He's going to be sitting in people's faces for too long.
Yeah.
And people are going to want a running back. So I know if I want a second running back who has the job at least to start, I got to take Connor now because he's absolutely not going to be there. And I don't want to try and get running backs later game.
Yeah.
Especially with how they go now. So.
And then after us, we just saw a run of wide receivers go off the board. DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, Juju, and then Odell. I mean, Frankie is on the board now, but...
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end that run real quick and just pick up Melvin Gordon here.
He's someone who I'm surprised he's falling as far as he is, because he is still like a younger running back. I believe he's 26. We've never like wanted for talent for him. He's on a run-heavy team. Obviously, they don't like Rolls-Royce. I mean, it's just him and...
Philip Lindsay.
Thank you, Philip Lindsay. I was thinking Patrick Beverly for some reason. I was like, that's a basketball player.
Patrick.
Yeah, I don't know. Like my brain was just completely jumping the tracks there.
Pat Bevs.
All right.
Oh, that's a heartbreaker. I wanted to get Ridley there, and I was hoping I wouldn't have to take AJ
your
Brown.
boy's there.
Yeah,
you were hoping you didn't have to. Does that mean all my banging on that drum is finally starting to get through?
You're shaking him. You're rattling the cage.
No, I just have a lot of shares of AJ Brown right now, and I want to get some market share of
sell those shares.
Mr. Ridley.
He's trying to sell low, I see. But no, it's in best ball, AJ Brown's a fine player because he is a boom guy. So if he can keep doing
as long as you draft well at the rest of the position.
Right. If you draft some safety behind him, he can really steal weeks for you if he has that home run ability.
Sure. You don't need him the weeks that he does bad, and the weeks that he does good, he'll be carrying your team.
But yeah, what I was going to say real quick to what your point about liking that backer half of the first, where you can kind of go running back. You get those benefits in those guys because running back goes so hard. In that third round, you have some great talent at wide receiver.
Oh, yeah.
If you go running back, if you go for a guy like CEH into Aaron Jones or something like that, just two names off the top of my head.
Sure.
You can then get a Juju Smith-Schuster who easily has our wide receiver one upside.
Or Odell Beckham. Yeah, there's a lot of... Because running back is going so heavy this year, there's a lot of good wide receiver talent available in the third, fourth, fifth, which... honestly just makes it easier to go, heavy into running back early because you don't really have to worry about wide receiver. You can easily fill in that position by just, following the trend, grabbing the best guys available to you, and then just filling out your wide receiver core in 3 through 5. So I'm coming up here, but you're going to pick before me.
That Jake Rollins guy, he's got just an eye for the player I want. Like, these two guys right next to me, I was going David Johnson.
You go for David Johnson?
I was going for David Johnson if he fell to me. So I know who I have to take. I want to take, like, a Robert Woods here, or maybe a Chark, but I want that third running back, and he's not coming back to me with you sitting in that position you are. So I'm going to go ahead and take David Montgomery right there.
That's fair. I'm going to go ahead and take Robert Woods. He was the guy I was eyeing at this spot anyway. I wanted to make sure that I feel comfortable with the two running backs I have. I want to get two good wide receivers also. Having Woods behind Galladay, where Galladay, while Galladay does provide more safety than a lot of the other high upside receivers, he is still a bit of a boom bust guy, or he can be, especially if Stafford isn't there. So I'll take Woods. Woods provides a very safe floor for my team. I love having him. He's someone who I don't mind having, 60-70% shares of in best ball this year. Like, I want as much Woods as I can get because I think that he's one of the safest players available. And then for my next pick, I'll just turn around and I'll grab someone who I also really like in this range, as well as David Montgomery. I'll take Mark Ingram. It's just I've said it before. I'll say it again. He should not be falling to the 5th round.
Yeah, it's a lot of disrespect for a team that loves to run the roll.
And he's a good running back. He's older, but it doesn't matter. There's no reason to not run Mark Ingram out there this year. They're gonna, the Ravens are gonna run. Lamar Jackson makes it really easy for running backs to have a good time because he's the best running quarterback in the league. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't want a running back on a top offense with a great running quarterback. I mean, that's fantasy gold right there.
Yeah. With the pick right after yours, I was, like I said, I kind of figured that's kind of how the next ones would go. So I'd get a wide receiver I still liked. And I went with DK Metcalf.
Metcalf.
Kind of for the same reason Frankie went with A.J. Brown. He's a little bit later for a wide receiver. I've got a safe guy in Gallup.
Sure.
And now Metcalf, I think he has a higher upside than an A.J. Brown because both teams don't throw that much, but Seattle throws a little bit more. Seattle has a better quarterback, and Metcalf, as we saw, exploded at the combine. And he's a physical freak, and I'll take that in a guy who also showed he can play wide receiver in this league.
Well, and you touched on it too. It's the quality of the target with Metcalf. Mm-hmm. It is a big reason why I love both of them. I love the talent of both of them. But if I have to pick, honestly, I do like Metcalf better than AJ Brown, just because we know that Metcalf's going to be getting more quality balls thrown his way. Mm-hmm. No knock against Tannehill, but Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, that's the reason why he was the number 2 player overall this year.
Oh, I think Metcalf's going to take over Lockett's position as the one on that team.
Lockett's someone also who I do think there's too much disrespect being thrown Lockett's way. He should still be getting drafted ahead of Metcalf.
Yeah.
He hasn't given us reason to think that he shouldn't be.
Yeah,
but
I think he's just one of those players that he can't be an alpha on a team by himself.
Sure.
He needs a 1B to him. Like, he would be somebody you look at with, like, the Godwin Evans. Like, I think he would explode in a role like that.
Yeah.
But
we've seen that in the past when he was playing behind Doug Baldwin, and he performed very well for fantasy owners.
Oh, yeah. Don't remind me of those Doug Baldwin days.
He just can't get a high volume of targets.
Yeah.
You throw too many his way, and he just starts to break down because he's not the biggest guy.
Yeah. Also, I got to say, Frankie, I got to say sorry about that. I kind of complimented your draft strategy while also crapping on your pick. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I need more wide receivers here. I mean, I got 3 running backs.
No, I was going to judge you if you went for
I'm going to pick up
here.
a guy that I've liked a lot in the past, and that's Mr. Devontae Parker.
He's who I was looking at and for that pick also. Devontae probably gives you the best mix of safety and upside there because he's a really good receiver. You know that at least Fitzpatrick is going to start the year, which is good for his fantasy value.
Well, that's disappointing. Marquise Brown with the pick before me, and that's who I was looking at there. So I'm going to skip the first couple wide receivers at the top of the board and pick up Mr. Michael Gallup here. Diggs is in a new offense. T.Y. is getting older, and I think that out of those 3, the guys who have the most boom potential is probably Gallup.
See, I would still rather have T.Y. Hilton there. He is getting older, but he's never been a bad receiver in seasons where he's played the full year. He usually gets a little banged up, but he usually plays through it. And we know that Rivers is an air-it-out quarterback. He's not afraid to throw some picks. Rivers will, especially with not having a lot of time to learn that offense, he could just hyper-focus in on T.Y. Hilton. And, I mean, Hilton's going in the 6th round. That's a really good value for someone who could return, realistically, like top 16 upside.
Yeah, he's a guy definitely hate's kind of climbed up a little bit because of that perception and how bad the offense was through the air last year. But bringing in a guy like Phillip Rivers, I think, is just going to help his value, and we could see at least one good last season from him. He is risky, but in a season where you don't have to worry about is he going to play this week, they just start the best guy, he's a lot safer.
Well, and there's not a lot of people in this range who aren't risky. I mean, you look at Michael Gallup over T.Y. Hilton. Michael Gallup plays in a very congested offense as far as like who the targets are going to. They obviously just drafted CeeDee Lamb in the 1st round. Amari Cooper's still there. Blake Jarwin's an up-and-coming tight end. Zeke's going to get some balls thrown his way. I mean, I think that he's still going to be a good player, but there's no one in this range who is a surefire thing.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'll go for the stack here, and I'll go ahead and just lock up Russell Wilson at the back of the 6th here.
Sure.
I don't hate it.
Just, like I said, the stack is there. Like I said, I kind of jumped in on the run there, but I was already I'm fine with taking him at the back of the 6th, top of the 7th kind of range, and it opens me up to go for a very late tight end strategy where I can scoop up a bunch of them. So what are you thinking here?
So I'm going to take a guy that Frankie was in love with last season and lock up Devin Singletary. I don't love the situation he's in. For whatever reason, the Bills just seem determined to not give him the full job. Honestly, I like J.K. Dobbins more than Devin Singletary in this range, but I don't want to own J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram because that's only valuable to me if Mark Ingram goes down. Mm-hmm. So I'll take the shot at Devin Singletary, and because he does have that game-breaking ability where he can have big weeks. And then I'll turn around and I'll get another wide receiver for myself to give me 3 wide receivers. Take Brandon Cooks, a guy who I've repeatedly shouted my praise for this season. Obviously, the news came out that he's concussion free or whatever, and he's going to be good to go this season. I really like his position in that offense. I think there's a lot of upside that he can capture. Mm-hmm. And he just always gets slighted. So
yeah, when I saw that pick come up, I knew I was going to get somebody I liked there.
You taking Jules?
I'm taking Jarvis Landry.
Ah.
So I'll go for the safe guy there who has performed well for that team, gets a lot of balls thrown his way, and I just think he's a great third wide receiver to anchor my team.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys like that in this range. I mean, you look at the guys that just went off the board there. I mean, Marvin Jones, Brandon Cooks, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd, Julian Edelman. I mean, like those are all like very safe wide receivers. You might not have a ton of upside with a lot of them. I think that probably Brandon Cooks and Tyler Boyd have the best upside in that range. But those are guys that you don't have to worry about them just putting up a goose egg for you. They'll always go out there and they'll get you 8 or 9 points.
Yeah, they're all guys you can argue for why they should go over each other, like whether you're buying in on guys who've been in their system for longer, Jules and Jarvis, guys who are safer, those two.
Yeah.
Guys who have the more upside, Marvin Jones. Tyler Boyd is the young and up-and-comer, but he's on a team with a new quarterback. So it's like you can kind of talk yourself into any of those 4 guys.
Yeah, it's really just who you feel more comfortable with and what you're trying to capture with that range. I'm interested to see, with Darius guys climbing up the board, if anyone hasn't heard the news and they waste a pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, I noticed that they did not change his ADP.
Yeah, he is still listed as Washington. It's something you see sometimes where their previous team is there because... he should be tagged FA. You can lock up that Darius guys and gamble on him getting him.
No, I was going to try and lock up Deontay Johnson there, but again, this guy
wow.
just, you know what?
I got to say, this is definitely a surprise to me how much he's climbed now that his name's just jumped on my board. Nicole Hardman. He has been flying up boards. He was a great pick in the 10th. Now in the 7th, not as much sold on him.
I've been saying that for a while, like ever since you started talking about him, where it's like, sure, I like him where he's going, but like too many people are getting onto the Nicole Hardman hype train, and it's like they're just forgetting the fact that there are still a lot of like Sammy Watkins is still there. Oh, sorry, he isn't, is he?
No, he is.
He is. Yeah, that's right.
He was talking about taking the year off.
Yes,
I
couldn't.
Against
yeah, I thought he was going to, but yeah, no. So like Sammy Watkins is still there. I mean, obviously they just got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's going to have a large receiving role. Mm-hmm. Travis Kelce is arguably the number 1 receiver on their team. I mean, I don't see I think he loses a lot of upside in the 7th round.
There you go.
And then Antonio Gibson in the first pick in the 8th. That's too rich for my blood for a guy who's going to be because Bryce Love is still there too. I mean, that's a
clogged back.
Yeah, that's a 4-man backfield at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ended up taking Debo there just because I didn't want to kind of buy into that Hardman hype. And then on the back swing, I'm going to pick up Matt Ryan because we've seen even on a down year, he's going to have
Ryan's a safe quarterback.
Yeah. And like I said, 8's usually where you see him going. So you have to grab him a little high, but like I said, when you're on the turn, you have to pay high for your picks.
Yeah.
Because you don't always take what's the pick that's fallen to you. Sometimes you just got to reach for the thing you think is the best player in that range.
Well, it's like even again.
And with 4 and 3 off the board for me, I think this is the range where I'm pretty comfortable with my depth on my team right now. So I am going to start looking at locking up that first wide receiver and that first tight end for me to make sure that those positions don't pass me by.
Yeah, and that's like I said, that's one thing I do like about going.
There he goes, Darius guys off the board. So just a quick point to everyone, our listening audience right now. If you're on, this is one of the reasons that you want to pay attention to the news when you're doing best ball drafts, because 1, things like that can happen, and then 2, if you're up to date on the news, it's good to draft when you're when you're drafting around, like when news just came out, because you can catch people making boneheaded picks like that, and you get to take advantage of it.
I don't know how to tell on this app who's auto drafting, but I'm pretty sure he is because I think he's taken every top recommendation on the board.
He could just be taking whoever the top guy is. It does not look like he's auto-drafting now.
I have seen him time out on 1, but you still have to, I believe, after 2 in a row. So he might have just missed a pick. But it's just knowing, just keeping, like, like a look through of ESPN or SportsCenter just to keep the headlines, because these things will jump in front of you. So it's not like you have to do deep dives on like, did the third tackle for Philadelphia come down with a foot injury?
Pay attention to starter news.
Starter news. That's all.
Just keep your notifications on.
Because you can definitely take advantage of that and help you get some nice players in best ball.
What are you thinking here about Tally?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to have the guy that was drafted at 8'5", Mr. Marlon Mack, but that doesn't look like it's happening for me, unless he wants to trade, which I don't think I can do, but...
You can't.
I cannot. So looking at these running backs here, it's not a great bunch that I'm looking at. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a guy who maybe has some... I know I've been down on the rookie wide receivers, but John Gruden is just a... old style coaching. He just kind of plays a little bit different, and all the good news that's been swirling around Ruggs, I think he could just be sneaky valuable.
Well, and they did say that he's likely going to be starting the season as their slot receiver. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can. I'm actually going to go back on what I said. I'm going to take Tevin Coleman here, so I can't pass that up. But you can hate rookies all you want. I'm not a big fan of drafting rookie wide receivers. But you just eventually you have to recognize that even if they're a rookie, their upside may be limited. If enough balls get thrown their way, unless they're just busting out of the NFL, they're going to catch them and they're going to return value. I mean, the slot is where you're going to get, focus fired with that. I think that's a fine pick in that range. I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to lock up Sterling Shepard.
Okay.
I need another wide receiver. He's another safe guy on the board for me, and I think that puts me in a good position now to not have to really worry about reaching on any of the critical position players from here on out. And I can kind of just take who I need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here I'm just going to go ahead and take a fourth running back. I'm going to take my guy Kerryon Johnson.
Gross.
9th round, like I said, he could be the starter to start. We don't know how Swift is. He was highly rated coming out, but clearly teams passed on him for some reason or another.
I'm actually surprised that he's someone we've heard almost nothing about this offseason.
Kerryon and Swift.
Yeah,
like I said, they're not as sexy as a backfield because of Detroit, how bad they were last year. So people don't really want to buy into them. But like I said, I'm just surprised how high Swift is still staying. I figured his ADP would have slipped him back into the 6th.
Yeah, I don't like where Swift is going. I also don't like where Kerryon's going. Detroit is one of those teams this year where I want 0 shares of their backfield. Mm-hmm. The passing offense I love because they're a bad team, they're gonna have to throw. I don't want running backs on bad offenses with bad O-lines, especially with a murky backfield. If it was just one or the other guaranteed, sure, I could sell myself on that.
Yeah, like I said, it's partially just I'm a Kerryon truther. I want to believe, and I'm willing to take that shot in the 9th round where he's my 4th running back. I already have a quarterback. I'm fine waiting on a tight end for a little bit longer because there's plenty of tight end depth out there, and he's not getting to me in the 10th.
Yeah.
So
who are you looking at here, Frankie? 1 quarterback, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers. You locking up a tight end?
I'm gonna wait till my swing. I'm gonna pick up another potential boom guy here, and that's John Brown.
See, I feel like you're forgetting that Stephon Diggs is there.
Yes, I know.
Brown, they don't throw enough for Brown to have really this boom potential you claim.
Well, I mean, he had it last year. I mean, he was the number 1, but
right. But that's you bring a guy like Stephon Diggs into the offense who has the exact same role as Brown. You don't bring in Diggs if you want to still give Brown the same role. Brown is someone who I think could really burn fantasy owners.
I don't mind him so much late. I have almost no interest in him in redraft because then you have to try and pick the week that he's going to be able to go deep. But
sure.
I think he could provide some quality weeks in best ball. So in the 9th, 10th, it's fine. Honestly, I thought you were going for more of a Breida, maybe Keshawn Vaughn, if you wanted to be that.
No, there's a couple more running backs I want to grab later. But I am going to pick my first tight end here, and that's going to be Jared Cook. Hunter Henry has a new quarterback.
Old man Jared Cook.
And Jared Cook's in a better offense, so
I can't get behind. He's had so few good seasons in his NFL career. I mean, I don't like him for the same reason I don't like Tyler Higbee. Cook showed what he could do in that Saints offense, but on a very small sample size. We don't know if he's going to be able to repeat that over a full season.
Right, but I feel like you could almost say that argument for most receivers, most tight ends back here. The big dig on him is that he's old, but he also is on one of the better offenses in the league. Because I mean, same thing with Hawk. We only saw it for a little bit.
But but Hawk's also younger. Cook has given us a bit of a playbook as to what he is at this point. I mean, he's a 32-year-old tight end. There's more room for Hawkinson to become a better player. Whereas, I don't know. I've been burned by Cook in the past, and I guess the 10th round isn't the worst. It's not like Higbee where he's going in the 7th, but it's still just it smells a little risky to me. Where there are other guys I'd rather have because I think they're a safer play with similar upside.
He's not going to be my only tight end.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm just saying in general why I'm not a Cook fan.
Yeah, I'm probably never going to just do a singular tight end unless I try a draft where I go for a high value tight end.
Kittle or Kelsey.
Yeah, maybe I do it, but I think you should always have safety just in case of an injury or something. So you at least have something to rule out on a week-to-week basis because, I mean, you're playing for money, so why not protect yourself a little bit?
Yeah.
I don't really need another running back, but here there's not a lot of great value around that, so I'll just go ahead and take Tariq Cohen as just a deep running back and probably able to just round out that position for me with 5 running backs unless something really juicy comes up in the later rounds, which I probably will have, a 6th coming out. But now I can really look at, do I want to go for a second quarterback? Do I want to start on tight end now? Do I want to go for another wide receiver? But
I locked in my first quarterback here. As I've said in the past, stacking is critical in best ball. You need to do it to give your team the upside that will allow you to actually, win the entire thing. I picked Stafford to stack him with Kenny Golladay. I want to take advantage of those weeks where they both go off together and capture as much of that upside as I can in my offense. And the tight end that I really wanted just went off the board with Mike Gesicki, so I'm going to go ahead and reach a little bit for TJ Hawkinson because he's probably not making it to my next pick. So I'll add to my Detroit stack there and try and capture as much upside as I can.
Okay. So I'm going to similarly go with tight end just like you, but I'm going to go ahead with Noah Fant. I'm also a big fan of, and I'm actually surprised to see Gesicki climbing a little bit above those guys. I feel like
there was some opt-outs in the Miami offense, so like Alan Hearns, I believe, opted out. I don't remember exactly who opted out in that offense. I don't have the list in front of me, but it wasn't any like major players, but it was just some minor targets that opted out to simplify the target tree a little bit.
Yeah, it's just something I'm surprised to see it because I feel like Hawk and Fant are just both more juicier picks in late rounds than he is.
Gesicki's athletic. He's someone who he's probably honestly another victim of Gase, where he's someone who should have had a better career to this point, but hasn't because he played in that Adam Gase offense forever, and also tight ends just take a while to develop. But I mean, he was drafted high. He had a very highly rated profile in the combine when he was being scouted. He's someone who I could see develop into a fantasy mainstay, this year and for years to come, just because of what he brings to the table.
I am surprised to see Hunter Henry falling as far as he was because he feels like that he was that fantasy darling that we've been waiting to break out forever, i.e. like Kenyon Drake, who I felt like his ADP was just rock solid 6th, 7th, and maybe he'd slip to like 8 as far as it, but seeing him go in the 11th is a surprise to me. But as we're 2 picks out from you, what are you looking at here, Frankie?
Well, I just got very disappointed because Damian Harris has been off the board, and I was going to reach on him.
He's someone who has been moving up boards pretty well too. I mean, he was going undrafted for a while.
I was going to take that reach just so I could secure him as my 4th running back. But looking at who's here, I am going to take that Sammy Watkins, who is going way behind Nicole Hardman. I really still don't understand why.
Honestly, Sammy Watkins is going in the range where Nicole Hardman initially was going. I mean, he's going far enough back now that I think Sammy Watkins has become the value, and Nicole Hardman is now the trap pick.
Yeah, it's like, why do you guys think that is? I mean, it's like...
It's because Nicole Hardman is the sexy name. Everyone's tired of Sammy Watkins in his one pop-off game and then dropping everything that's been thrown his way. Nicole Hardman had a few good games where he caught one ball, took it to the house, and, won people money on DraftKings or won them their week in redraft. And they want, and like Vitaly has said, when he's preached for Nicole Hardman, they want to capture that upside of the Chiefs offense. They want to get receivers that are tied to Patrick Mahomes. And it's been taken to the extreme to the point where he's going in the 7th round now, which just isn't good for his value. You're risking too much at that point. And it's flipped. Now Sammy Watkins is the value in that offense where you're taking him and you're hoping he maintains that wide receiver 2 role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the pick there, Hooper. I'm glad to see his values come down to quite a bit into the 12th. Like I said, I'm very comfortable taking him there. But yeah, like I said, with Nicole Hardman and Watkins, it feels like it's just a puppy versus a senior dog. Everyone loves the puppy, but the dog, everyone knows what that dog can do. We've seen it for years. He hasn't returned his draft value of going in the single digits in the first round. So I think people are just they know what he is, and they don't want to buy the boring name out of even if it's tied to Pat Mahomes, they'll let it sit, which I think is still crazy. I think both of their receivers, all 3 of those receivers, should be going in the in higher rounds, just because of how dynamic that offense is.
I disagree about going in high rounds. I think you want Tyreek Hill, you want Travis Kelce, you want CEH. The other guys on that offense, we've seen with the exception of like a game every now and then, they don't get a ton of targets because those first 3 guys are going to absorb so much of the offense. I mean, yes, they might be the wide receiver 2 technically, but Tyreek Hill isn't even the number 1 pass catcher on his own offense. That's Travis Kelce. So then you're getting the 3rd guy in the target tree, or maybe the 4th guy, because we don't know exactly who's going to get that role. There are other guys going in that range that they might not offer the same upside, but they offer a maybe lower upside but higher floor, because let's be honest, Nicole Hardman and Sammy Watkins' ceiling could be the floor.
So yeah, I'm not saying that they should be going in like the 5th, 6th. I think Nicole Hardman just passed what I would consider the ceiling for the both of them. I could see them easily going in the 8th, 9th, and it making more sense to me. You're not getting a lot of value there, and you're gambling a bit, but it's for wide receivers that have that upside potential. And like I said, I still do like Nicole Hardman as a player, and I think he could really return value for owners this year. It's just in the 7th, you're losing a lot of that value because he's now going to be potentially your locked in wide receiver 3, or flex player. And I just don't think he needs to prove himself. He still had only a few games last year where he produced well.
Yes. All right. Roto Rooster didn't snipe my pick. I picked Rodgers at 12-11. Now I'm going to swing around and grab Alan Lazard at 13-2. Getting a little mini stack there. I don't really know if that's going to pay off most weeks, but I'm never mad to have Rodgers. I think Lazard is a fine 5th wide receiver.
Yeah, here I went right before that, and I went with N'Keal Harry. I was looking at Rodgers, but I felt
Rodgers.
I wanted to get that just 1st round pick value and see if it could turn out something. I'm actually going to do another rookie, and go ahead and take Justin Jefferson.
Sure.
There in the 13th. Like I said,
we've said it before. Someone's got to catch balls in that offense.
I like it. I like it a lot.
In the 13th round, I can't be mad at that. Like I said, which is a comment I feel like we make a lot, but even in the 13th round, where you're kind of just throwing darts at the board, there are still like players you want to avoid, like Rashad Perryman. Yes, there are all those vacated targets. Or
Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson's now the 3rd wide receiver on his team. Like, there's just guys.
And we know that Teddy Bridgewater isn't a deep ball thrower. I mean, honestly, we're probably looking at a situation where neither him or Curtis Samuel is going to have much value this year.
Yeah, it's just you have to really look at these guys and see. Especially in best ball, does this guy have a path to being either a guy who's going to be mostly in your lineup, or even just provide you good weeks? And a guy like if Rashad Perryman is starting for you, you're probably not doing well because there's already a bottom half offense. He's already lower priority on his own team. Like, I'd rather have the rookie out of there, Denzel Mims, instead of him.
He's going like 3 rounds later. He's like a 16th, 17th round ADP, and I mean, we kind of know what Perriman is. Mims does give you at least that shinier upside. I was hoping Jarwin was going to make it to my next pick. He was someone who I thought could slip through. Everyone's got
You were living on a prayer right there.
I mean, everyone's got a bunch of tight ends at this point, though, so there was a chance.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be likely, but I also didn't expect a mini run on tight ends in the 13th round when everyone's already got a handful of them.
Yeah. Here, I typically do look at that Rashard Perriman, but I am going to take your guys' advice that you've been giving me throughout these drafts, and that's
Yeah, that's great. It's like if Frankie can be almost like our own model version of our fans, where you try and sculpt your opinion with some solid facts and a little bit of research to why certain guys are riskier picks. Like Rashard Perriman could still just come out of nowhere because there's guys that do it every year, and he could just be the alpha dog on this team with Sam Darnold finally breaking out, but Adam Gase is still there.
I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't want the alpha dog on the Jets. I want no one on that. The alpha dog on the Jets is still like a wide receiver 3 for anyone else. Like, it's just, that offense is gross. I want to pass as a whole on it.
I digress. Going back, I am going to pick up Michael Pittman Jr. here.
Sure.
I have listened and I have heard. So I will get my one share. If it's only this one, I will get my one share.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he's just someone. He's someone else who he falls into the rookie camp, but he's an exciting player. The Colts have I would say a smart front office, a smart coaching staff, strong O-line. Rivers should provide good veteran leadership. I don't think that the Colts are going to be a sexy offense, but I think that they're going to be a safe offense for fantasy owners.
Yeah, another reason I also like that Pittman Jr. pick, and especially in the 13th, is he is a big body receiver, not unlike
T.Y. Hilton?
Mike Wallace, which he is comfortable with and had for years. And we saw Michael Williams. Mike
Wallace was the Steelers.
Yeah, Michael Williams over on the Chargers. We saw him get that 10 touchdown, 800-yard season before, so he knows how to use those big guys in the red zone to get points, and it could be exactly what you get out of him this year, where he's gonna get only like 500 or 600 yards like rookies mostly do, but he could be pulling down touchdowns left and right, basically like a tight end.
Sure. If you're someone who's doing best ball drafts right now, and you decide that you want to go running back or running back late, you want to focus on locking up those good wide receivers early because they are falling. I just want to point out someone who just went off the board that we mentioned earlier with the Darius Geis news. Adrian Peterson right now is going in the 14th round. He's someone who, if you decide that you want to try a best ball draft where you're going, low or no running backs early, that you should be locking up, because with all likelihood, he's going to get the job. We've seen it before. We've seen Washington give him the job before. And we know that Adrian Peterson, obviously he's old now, but he's one of the best to ever do it at running back. It won't be fun, but he'll still churn out 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns if he has that starting job.
I would agree, and I would also say something about Damian Harris. We talked about this the last draft where he's kind of keeps getting sniped from me in those later rounds. His ADP is going up because Sonny Michel did just have a surgery.
Yeah.
He is definitely some guy that you do want to look at in those later rounds if you do decide to go with that fade the running back strategy early.
Yeah, and if you're fading a position completely early to go with another one, you have to then decide your cutoff point, and from that point on, you're just taking your shot, just over and over and over. You need to build for depth after you draft for strength at another position if that's how you're drafting.
Yep. Oops, I clicked on the wrong guy, but whatever. I was going for Herndon there, and I was kind of just letting Ian talk, and then I couldn't see.
Gorkapolo.
So Gorkapolo, I'll take him. Whatever. He has 4 touchdown upside. So, and he's got a defense that can get him the ball back. So, like I said, I don't want him. I don't want any shares of him, and for these late guys, because I already have Russell, so I did want to take another guy.
You got one.
Yeah, there's another guy I wanted more than him, but I got him now, and you know what? I'm still going to take that other guy, probably not with this pick, but because I think I can get him later. So I'm going to go with the pick I was going to take, because I don't think you were going to take him.
Well, I left you Chris Herndon.
Yes, you did. You left me Chris Herndon, and you took the guy I was going to wait on.
Teal Steel!
Yeah,
Let's go! Gardner Minshew as my third quarterback.
You
can blame Jay Crawlin's 06 because I wanted Goff to keep the stacks going on my offense, but he locked up Goff, so I'm taking Teal Steel.
Yeah, Goff is the last guy I was willing to wait on for that just protection quarterback under Russ. And then I was like, you know what? Let's go with some Teal Steel. I've heard a lot of upside talk for this kid, and I'm in on it. So I was going to go Chris Herndon, maybe Minshew if there was nothing there for my next pick. But no, there was another guy.
But I sniped you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sniped myself.
Yeah.
I sniped myself because I think it could have shifted some up because Gorka Polo could have gone there before and moved some other stuff. But
sure.
No. Yeah. Just be cognizant because especially in this app when you're drafting, sometimes when you click the player to the draft button, you actually can't see their name when you're hovering over the draft. So just give it a quick scroll up. Use your time. Don't have to rush.
Yes, that's a good point that we didn't mention on our last video. But before you lock your pick in, make sure you're drafting the player you want to draft.
Yeah.
Especially if let's use Houston for an example. Especially if you're drafting a running back in an offense where there are 2 D Johnsons in that offense. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the idiot who drafts the wrong D Johnson and all of a sudden you're drafting Duke Johnson in the 5th round and you're just hoping that he somehow wins that job finally.
Also, just an aside, if you're making trades with somebody, make sure same rules apply.
If you're in a league where people are trying to sneak that by, though, you probably want to leave that league.
Yeah.
That's underhanded trading right there.
Yeah. So a guy I was actually going to take, I was looking to go Chris Herndon into a guy who's still sitting on the board, Antonio Brown. I don't like Antonio Brown in all that. Like, I wouldn't want him on my team. Clearly, we already had him, and I'm glad he's gone. But he's going to be out for the first 6 weeks, and then after that, now that it's all resolved and kind of behind, I think that there will be a team for him that is looking to get a title this year. So I'm willing to take him in the 15th round for those last, after those first 6 weeks where he could just come into a team that might be down or wide receiver or 2 thanks to COVID.
Yeah.
Or other just regular injuries that happen every year. And he could step in, and he still is one of the most talented receivers. He just, has all those off-field issues.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who I think the situation that the world is currently in is a gold mine for him. Because I don't know if he would have got another chance in football if it wasn't for COVID. But now that he just has a 6-game ban and he's done after that, and like you said, there could be a situation where a team is just really hurting for wide receiver. Maybe the Falcons lose Julio Jones or something to COVID and he has to sit the season out. This could open a lot of doors for Antonio Brown. And he obviously is someone who could return number 1 upside if he gets into the right offense.
Yeah. Very good pick there. So my last comment on him, because we've already seen what the Saints sniffed around him right after we cut him. After he left the Patriots,
the Ravens have sniffed around him. The Seahawks have sniffed him.
He has been getting serious looks, and now I think teams are going to wait for him to be like 2 weeks out from coming back.
Sure. If
they've got that injury, because I could easily see a world where maybe Michael Thomas is down for even just if it's 3 or 4 weeks.
There's a lot of teams that have like very very limited wide receiver depth that are also very good teams when they're firing on all cylinders. That's who I would look to see him go to, because obviously he's not going to go to the Jaguars or something. These teams that are just out of contention before the season starts. There's no chance. If he goes anywhere, he's going to a contender because they need another weapon.
So, talk us through what you were going there while we were talking some Antonio Brown there. McFarland Jr. and then Joshua Kelly, what I think are 2 very good picks in the late rounds here.
Yeah.
So the Joshua Kelly was more of I just didn't want Justin Jackson earlier.
Smart.
But the McFarland pick I think is personally really good. We've seen James Conner go down before.
Frequently. Multiple times in one season. Sometimes multiple times in one game.
And McFarland is going, I just got him in the back of the 15th, early 16th?
Yeah.
It's the value that you could potentially be getting there. Never draft for injury, but,
Well, it's one of the reasons that I love best ball, too, because you can just, if you like those guys, you can draft them. Very little impact, for taking them if you're wrong. And if you're right, that's how you win a best ball league.
Honestly, even if James Conner starts the game and then goes down and then McFarland pops off for like 6 touchdowns, it's like, I didn't need to account for that. It's just, he just gets plugged in once he scores those points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so here, like I said, I didn't want to go through quarterbacks, but because I got Garoppolo and he's not very much of an upside pick in my eyes, I'll take a guy who I think has that just breakout potential in the 16th and Drew Lock.
Sure.
I was considering the guy who you just took. It was basically between those two.
I want him a third tight end.
Yeah, I wanted another tight end, but years passed of just me never just screaming it into my back of my head of just never take Rodgers tight end. Everyone wants to be like, oh, he's playing with Rodgers. He's got so much touchdown upside. Rodgers hates the tight end. We saw that he doesn't matter who it is, from just Jermichael Finley to
Finley had some good years.
That's usually the argument every time. It's just like, oh, he had a couple good games, but like you're never happy with those guys, and they're usually very far outside of the top 12 for tight end. So I'll just pass on it, and I'd rather take Gerald Everett right there, honestly, just because if Higbee goes down, we've already seen that the Rams want to use their tight ends, and he could have some good touchdown games. Like, that's about it. So there, I'll just go ahead and lock up. Oh, guess I didn't take my pick, but that's fine. I talked too long.
Four quarterbacks.
Yeah,
That's a
bold.
bold strategy, God. See if it pays off.
You will never have a bad week.
I will never have a bad week at quarterback. It's my new strategy. I'm just buying into it. I didn't miss my pick. You missed the pick. What are you talking about? No,
Yeah.
I was looking at guys there like Greg Olsen. I was thinking about Armstead, but he's just not a sexy pick. Shady, just because of the the late round. He's a veteran back who's done it before. If he gets the job, it's a high power. It should be high powered offense kind of
honestly, at that pick, instead of Reichwell or Shady, I'd much rather have Chris Thompson, Carlos Hyde, Jamal Williams, even Gio Bernard. Reichwell Armstead isn't very good, I don't think. So and he literally only has value if Leonard Fournette is out. Chris Thompson can at least provide value with Leonard Fournette on the field. Carlos Hyde easily could end up as the starter in that offense because we've seen that Chris Carson and Rashad Penny have issues staying on the field. I think that both of those guys, especially in the 17th round, provide a lot more upside than a LaShawn McCoy, where it could be a high-powered offense, but he's going to have a bit role on that team.
I am going to go ahead and lock up my last tight end here, and that's Mr. Dawson Knox. I just wanted to get 3 tight ends, just kind of blanket that.
If you're not going a high-powered tight end, you want to go 3 tight ends.
Yeah, that's a bummer because that's who I was hoping maybe slid back to me, but
foiled your plans.
Yeah, it seems to be that way.
Soiled it.
But I seem to be soiling my own plans. I might just end up taking my last pick a guy that I just really love, but I gotta see if he'll make it back to me. I think he will because I don't think there's much hype on him at all. I think all of it's gone.
I already know who I'm taking. Who are you looking at?
Mr. Tyler Eifert.
Oh no, I'm not.
Yeah.
There's no.
I suddenly want a 4th tight end.
There was no thought in my mind to take Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, I was gonna say also you can't steal him because I'm picking before you in the last round.
True.
Here.
Yeah, you are.
So yeah, unless Frankie wants to take him right now, just to throw all the salt into my wound.
I am gonna.
Honestly, for your last pick, maybe who's your top quarterback right now?
That is Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. Yeah, you probably don't need another one. I mean, unless you want to really
Matty
go
Ice, Joe
hyping.
Burrow.
Yeah. You maybe want to go Tua and get all the rookie quarterbacks.
No, I am.
Dwayne Haskins is still on the board.
No, I'm taking Andy Isabella here.
Andre Isabella.
I like it. Solid guy, could provide a couple of weeks, but a little bit.
I view him as kind of like a Nicole Hardman, just on not Patrick Mahomes' offense.
At the end of the day,
he's
my
fast. He
can
can take one to the house. Yeah, but I don't think he's gonna get a lot of volume.
All right, so Vitali, we know who your last pick is. Ian, who are you thinking?
I mean, I gotta make sure he actually falls to me, but assuming that he makes it down the board to me, I am. Oh, come on, let me pull up the wide receiver list here.
Ooh, there goes Haskins, Chris Thompson.
Assuming he makes it down the board to me, I am looking at Josh Gordon here. He's someone who I view kind of like Antonio Brown, where Gordon obviously still is a very skilled person. If he comes back, I get a very skilled receiver in the 18th round, and if he doesn't, it's the 18th round.
Yeah, that's definitely a guy that we've mentioned a couple times. You guys know he's another one of those guys like Tyler Eifert.
You have his jersey hanging on your wall right now.
No, I was just wearing it today.
The
Browns jersey that were in our last episode. So Tyler Eifert there is just he's a guy that I've loved I bought in right when he broke out, and then it was just stolen from me, injuries, and he never made it. He just wasn't the same. And I got him when he came back, and then he turned his foot the wrong way, and it's just.
He's someone who there was always just so much hype around him, but he just could not
stay on the field.
Yeah, he's like that fish from SpongeBob. Every morning he woke up and broke all of the bones in his arms, and every night he broke all of the bones in his legs.
Yeah,
he's got bones of glass.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
You never like to see that happen.
Yeah, so because of my lack of tight end depth in that last round, I'll just take a guy that
has almost no chance to be on the field, so you have the same amount of depth. I gotcha. All right, that was. I think that was a pretty. Honestly, I like this team more than a lot of the teams that I've gotten so far this year. I'm pretty comfortable with.
I'm in the same
with this.
boat.
If this was a redraft team, I would not be sad rolling into the season with it.
Yeah, like I said, I would probably be on the tight. I would be keeping a very close eye on my tight ends with Fant and Herndon as my top two guys. But otherwise, my wide receiver and running back depth, I'm very much fine with that. And having your squad led by Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He's not gonna steal. You're not gonna steal your weeks like Pat Mahomes, but he won't lose you a week.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our best ball episode. Now that we're officially in August, we're going to 3 shows a week. So join us. What is it? Tomorrow, actually. Join us tomorrow when we film our favorite picks in the early rounds. So top 3 or 4 rounds, who we think are our personal favorites going in that range. And as always, if you aren't doing it already, give us a give us a subscribe on YouTube, hit that notification bell, follow us on our socials. You can see them on the screen in front of you.
Under us.
Yeah. All of the additional exposure we can get helps so that we can bring you guys even more quality fantasy content, and you get to see our beautiful faces every time we upload a new video. Anyway, that'll do it for us. We look forward to seeing you guys this week, and good luck in your drafts if you're doing early drafts.
Finger guns.